What do we have at the foundation of the reading, please? Judgment. Pluto, Scorpio energy at the foundation. What do we have at the sacral, please? Okay, we're going to take this World card, and then we've got the Four of Cups, Cancer energy at the solar plexus. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that you guys are having a final review before you step into some sort of new cycle, some sort of new chapter. And we've been getting a lot of this energy because of this Mercury retrograde that we've been in. But I feel that each reading that I've conducted during this transit has been another step forward. So what we're seeing here now is your final position before you step into this new cycle. Now, the Judgment card at the foundation is Plutonian energy, and this is telling us that there's a really big breakthrough here for you. This is an energy of rebirth. It's an energy of awakening. This is Spirit calling you on the phone and you answering and accepting the mission, so to speak. The World card is telling us that you are on approach. See how it's like we're looking at you through the passage of time. It's like you're not quite there yet. You're getting ready to pass through this portal into this new beginning. But before you pass through, there needs to be some sort of a review as to all of the things that you have overcome on your path to get to this space. Now, my most recent members reading, I was picking up this energy where a lot of people inside the collective were looking back on past cycles in their life. Some of these cycles could have been from upwards of 10 years ago. And you're seeing how far you've come and how little progression in life the people that may have been in your life at that point in time have made. Now, this is a very interesting perspective to have because it tells us that you're outside the fishbowl, so to speak. It feels like you have escaped something without even knowing that that's what you needed to do. There's just a certain level of spiritual manpower that has been executed behind the scenes to get you to this new timeline. This is a message of having woken up from some sort of illusion in your own life. And now that you're on the other side of this, you're looking back with disbelief. There's an energy of shock horror that I'm picking up here as well. It's really you looking back saying, how could I have put up with that? How did I not see the writing on the wall when I was inside that particular environment? And these are all indications of a massive awakening in your life. When you look back at a previous version of yourself and you're in disbelief that you actually were in some of those spaces at one point in time, it's really just an indication of how much you have grown. And this is exactly the review that I was talking about. Spirit needs you to feel this. Spirit needs you to see how far you have truly come. Now, the Four of Cups at the solar plexus is telling us that your taste in multiple areas of your life has completely changed. It's shifted. What once may have quenched your thirst, or satisfied you rather, doesn't hit that spot anymore. And this is why you are closing out this cycle. And this is also further emphasizing that message about, what did I ever see in this? What did I ever see in you? Who was that person, that version of me that was able to put up with this in a previous cycle? I've grown so much. I'm not even that individual anymore. But those people are still doing that. They don't have this perspective that I have now. It's almost like they're asleep to the truth. There's an element of looking back at some of these situations and looking at some of these people, and it's like they're not even human. It's like they're just a part of the programming. NPC vibes. And whenever I mention NPCs, there's always somebody in the comments that asks what an NPC is. So an NPC is the character in a video game that you can't play. They're just a part of how the game functions. And when you go through an awakening of this level, you can see how this could very much be true to life. Because how could people not see what you're seeing? How could people barely even flinch? It's similar to feeling like you never even existed in the reality that those people still exist in. It's like you can just move on and everything just continues to stay the same. They just live out the same old pattern every single day of their life. It's like, here you are, World card, right? So you're in a cycle with these people going around year after year doing the same old thing. And then you have some sort of awakening and you escape this cyclical cycle. And they're still up to the same old thing. And here you are having gone through some sort of awakening, you're going through your hermit mode, you're going through your transformation, and then maybe a few years down the line, here you are, having moved on, and you're looking back now at these people, and it's like they're still up to the same old, and you have since moved on, and there's this energy of feeling so disconnected from that reality that you existed in with those people. And I feel that this is where a lot of you are right now, or where you are about to arrive at. This is what an awakening feels like. You have awakened to some level of truth inside your reality. And that doesn't mean that other people around you are also going through the same awakening. If anything, it's their lack of awakening that allows you to see just how awake you are. And as amazing as that is for you, there's always this perpetual sort of hum underneath your awakening that is trying to pull you back into these cycles. Just because you've removed yourself from the cycle doesn't mean that the cycle isn't going to try and pull you back in. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, people do get pulled back into these cycles. Sometimes it takes leaving the cycles a few times and going back into them to truly wake up. The awakening process as a whole is a multi-yeared, sometimes multi-decade process. And what a lot of people experience, including myself, I've gone through this too. You know, when you go through that first awakening and you've moved on from these cycles, you find that life starts to feel much more difficult because you're realizing that you need to build a whole new framework of your life to support this awakening. And a lot of people aren't prepared for that. So they slip back into these old ways. They go back into these old cycles. And then maybe on their second attempt, they're a bit more prepared to support that new awakening that they are having in that moment. It's sort of like when somebody decides they want to live off grid. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not something that you can just decide one day and then do the next day. If you want to be able to sustain yourself, you want to have a home, you want to have all of these things that we need to be able to provide for ourselves without the need of some sort of outside source, it takes tremendous preparation. And that's exactly the same for this process here. And I'm not here trying to sugarcoat any of this. I want to give you guys the raw truths that you will likely be faced with. But if I'm able to deliver a message here to all of you today to prepare yourself for this, then it can quite possibly make your path easier if you have an idea of what to expect. So to really simplify what we have channeled through so far, you're at this point in your life where you're having this review. Again, you very much see how far you've come, but it's not a jump for joy kind of energy. It's a what the hell was that kind of energy? What is that is allowing those people to not see the truth? And where am I right now? What do I need to do here? How do I keep pushing forward and make sure that I don't get pulled back into these cycles? This is the review. This is a hard truth to the awakening process that you are not going to hear really in many other places, because it's a unpopular take. You know, people hear this sort of stuff and they click off the video, or they say, I don't want to hear that. They can't process it or deal with what this actually looks like. What do we have in the heart position, please, Spirit? Seven of Wands, Leo energy in reverse at the heart. This just followed what I said. The Seven of Wands in reverse is an energy of feeling so overwhelmed you just give up. Now, the Seven Wands here represent all the pushback. You can't do this. You can't live that life. You can't go down that path. You're not equipped to go through this awakening, which is what most people are faced with. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. They start going through the awakening, and then all of a sudden, they give up and go back because it's just too much. The people that I'm reading for today, the people that will actually watch this video and take in what I'm saying here, are the people that are going to make it to the other side, because you're more than prepared, mentally speaking and spiritually speaking, to overcome any of the obstacles you may face in your physical reality. You want to hear the truth. You don't want anything to be sugarcoated. Some of you are actually sitting here taking notes right now, and you're the exact ones that are going to get on the other side of this. And this is what you call a generational curse breaker. People that are able to actually push through the horrendous obstacles that are placed on their path through this process are the ones that are actually doing the work for everybody else. Now, does this mean that you will be praised or get credit for this kind of work? No. Absolutely not. If anything, people will curse your name because they can't see the truth. But that's just all a part of it. That allows you to see who's still asleep and who isn't. You may walk this world with the rest of these people, but you can see through the illusion. It's something that you carry with you silently. You don't need to announce this to anybody. You don't need to announce what you're really doing in the spirit to help assist your family lineages and your communities. It's just a silent knowing. But there is something different about you, and they can see that, and they don't like it. This is why a lot of you feel cast out. You feel alone. You feel like people don't really understand you. And if that's you, then you're right on time, because that's what comes with this. This is not a perfectly straight, smooth path. It's filled with all sorts of debris, all sorts of obstacles, all sorts of monsters and demons and warlocks and zombies. You'll face it all. What a lot of you are going through right now is a kind of remembrance. You're starting to have an idea take shape. You can't even really articulate it. It's just a feeling that you've been here before, that you were told this is how it was going to go down. There's this deep feeling inside of you that this is in some sort of mission statement that you don't even have a copy of, sort of like deja vu. I've been here before. I've been through this before. Why does this feel so familiar? Because you have been through this before. And that's the most difficult part of this mission, is the not remembering. Because when you can't remember, you can't access that old knowledge base that could quite possibly serve you on your path at this time. Again, it's like when you're playing a video game and you're trying to pass the end of a level and the boss at the end of that level kills you. So then you have to start the game over again. You can't really skip forward to the very moment when the boss took you out. You have to do it all over again. It's like that, but the only difference there is you remember how to overcome each one of the other bosses on your way there. In this game of life, we don't get to remember. As soon as we're reincarnated back into another life cycle, our memories are wiped of any knowledge, any wisdom that we may have accumulated in a past cycle. That's what makes all of this so difficult. Imagine if that wasn't the case. Imagine if we had a knowledge base to pull from, like being incarnated into this life cycle with a journal that's waiting for you. We don't get that luxury. There is no game harder than the game of life. But for some reason, out of all of the people, you lot were chosen for it, which tells me that you're experienced at something here that most people you come in contact with couldn't even begin to grasp. There's those people that will be listening to this reading and understand, for the most part, what it is we're talking about here. And then there's other people that will maybe stumble across this reading and think it's the most absurd thing that they've ever heard. My words are put together in such a way to help you unlock a deep inner knowing, a desire to want to discover some level of truth or to see something through. And then right on the bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Wands and Hangman. Okay, so the Ace of Wands here is speaking about some sort of new beginning, and that's on the other side of this review process. Then the Hangman here is speaking about perspective. This is the universe, this is the divine, this is spirit going through this review process with you, trying to get you to see things from this higher vantage point and or perspective. Goes back to what I said about, moving on from a cycle. Here you are, you've moved on, and now you're looking back and everybody's just up to the same old thing, living the same old life. The only difference is they're older. That's what the Hangman is really representing right now. It's an energy of looking back and seeing how far you've come, seeing what you truly had to face to get to this point now on your path. It's a message of needing to truly understand what it is you have really faced to get to this space in your life. When it comes to breaking generational chains and things like this, nobody really tells you that every single person in your reality, for the most part, will try and push back against what it is you are going through. Nobody will support you. Zero will support you. Because if they had the capacity to support you, they would have done what you are attempting to do already. In fact, when you go through these sorts of awakenings in your life, people feel very slighted. People think that you think you're better than them. And these are all very common things that you will likely hear on this path if you haven't already. It's a lonely road, but once you discover it, you realize that there's no other way. You want to live in truth? This is how it's done. What do we have at the throat, please, Spirit? There's that hermit, Virgo energy at the throat. Unbelievable. So these two cards, plus the world card here, perfectly depict what I was trying to sketch out on my table here, right? Here's this cycle you were in. You moved on, which can be seen as the hermit mode, right? This is the cycle. And then this Seven of Wands is the pushback you face as you're moving through this cycle. And now here you are looking back like, oh my God, what was that I was a part of? It's also a message of not being able to see things. Okay, yeah, I just heard you can't see the forest for the trees. So obviously, when you're in these cycles, you don't really see what's going on. You're just going about the everyday grind of life. You're too distracted with just trying to survive inside that space. But once you move on and then you look back, it's like, oh my God, how could they not see it? The analogy that they want me to give you guys right now has to do with perspective or looking at things from a higher vantage point, as I've been detailing here. But it's like existing inside this little bubble. And then you take a ship to space, and where you're positioned from your rocket ship, you're able to look down at that little bubble you were living inside of. And what you notice is that all outside of that bubble, which you couldn't see when you were down inside that bubble, is hell. It's like that bubble is in the middle of hell, and you don't even realize you're in the middle of hell until you get perspective over it. That's an analogy for what I'm getting here, okay? Now, this Hermit card at the throat is emphasizing just how strong your connection with Source is at this time. I feel that you've gotten to a point in your life where you've done a tremendous amount of soul searching, and all the decisions you make on your path moving forward go through a kind of review process. Now, what this can really be highlighting is the fact that you ask Spirit, you ask your higher self for guidance. There's a very strong relationship there that a lot of you have nurtured with your higher self through this process. It's like having a conversation with yourself at random points throughout the day. But it's not so much you talking to yourself as it is you communicating with your higher self. Now, this is actually a very powerful practice to get into, because it really speaks about how strong your connection to yourself is. And that's really the key to all of this. I believe that talking to yourself is a very healthy practice to get into when you're going through this process. So rather than thinking that you're going crazy, which can sometimes be a feeling for this process, look at it more as you getting closer to yourself and your higher self, because that's what it really is. You know, the world will want you to think that there's something wrong with you through this process. And it's those little nuances that can make you feel that way. So just be aware of that. And through this process, understand that the closer you get to yourself, the more self-aware you actually are. And you know what? Think about the hermit. Think the hermit sits around talking to other people? No. The hermit is sitting around talking to himself, talking to his animals, talking to Mother Nature, talking to Spirit. It's all about carving the external noise out of your life to find your way forward. See, all the noise that you have escaped is the exact opposite to this hermit energy. It's very difficult to become the hermit inside of the noise. That's why it's always advised to find your inner hermit outside of the noise, because once you do that, you're able to navigate most spaces and anchor yourself into that hermit energy when needed. What do we have at the third eye, please, Spirit? Wow. Okay. Unbelievable. I was just thinking about this card. All right. So we have two cards here. We're going to take this one. Seven of Wands again. Look at that. 7 of Wands in reverse, Hermit. 7 of Wands, Hermit. All of this is just confirming what I'm saying. See how this particular Hermit is in this massive crowd of people? And that's emphasizing what I just said about the difficulties of becoming the hermit inside the noise. And of course, it's right after the 7 of Wands, which would be the noise. People's pushback. You can't do this. You can't do that. This is also confirming what I said about how once you have found that inner hermit, you can navigate just about any space and anchor yourself into that hermit again when needed. There's also another very clear message here that I'm seeing in the illustrations. Going back to the 7 of Wands in reverse, that was them wanting you to give up. Stop doing what you're doing. You can't do this. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? So, you found that inner hermit, right? And then 7 of Wands upright, you're able to enter back into spaces when needed, armed with a newfound sense of discernment. 7 of Wands upright next to the hermit inside this crowd. Now, this message is quite interesting because it suggests that you're being guided, or you've already been guided, to disconnect, get into this hermit energy, find yourself, go through the awakening process, and prepare yourself for what's to come. Now, this message is actually coming through in a very realistic kind of way, because even though we can go through this awakening process and become the hermit, so to speak, we still live inside this world. We're still inside the illusion, but there's just a big difference between being asleep inside the illusion and being awake inside the illusion. You are meant to be a part of this world. You are meant to move through this world with this newfound sense of discernment, because you bring something to certain spaces. That's the message here. You know, it really depends on your path, and obviously each one of you is walking a different one than the next. But this newfound sense of discernment, as being the result of this awakening, could be preparing you for something that the universe needs you to do. You know, a very basic example of this would be somebody who goes through this process and they build some sort of life or career for themselves based on what they have discovered, maybe to try and guide and help some other people. Sky's really the limit here, especially when you go through a process like this. But what I have also discovered is that most people who go through this process are being positioned for something. It doesn't have to be something that's grandiose and sees you with the spotlight on the world stage. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. It could be a conversation you have with somebody that just causes some sort of chain reaction. There's really no telling. So you think about your path and what that may mean for you. But the key to all of this is that, as we mentioned, most people don't quite make it to the other side of this process. They go back and they forget everything that they just went through, and they go back to sleep inside that illusion. But those who get away from it, go back, get away from it, go back, and then get away from it for good, hold something very valuable inside of them. It's an undercurrent of strength that is very rare in this world that we live in. And this is what it looks like to be the modern day hermit. What do we have at the foundation, please, Spirit? Ten of Cups, Pisces energy at the foundation. Now, this is further emphasizing what's going on here with your families, your communities, the pushback that you're facing. The Ten of Cups from this particular deck is an energy of you having misaligned values with these people, these situations, whatever it is you may be dealing with. What you're starting to also recognize is that the more you push in this particular direction, the more stressed your relationships become. It's like they want you to exist inside of a box that doesn't challenge the very fabric of your own reality. But that's not what you're here to do. You're here to poke holes through their reality and then climb through those holes to the other side so you can see what's there. And this is just another way of saying that you're ripping reality open by this process that you're going through. You're challenging the very framework by which you have always existed inside this reality. And I'm also thinking about another video game analogy. but it's like when you play a video game and instead of just maybe trying to beat the levels or take the path that most people take and see if you can beat somebody else's score, you decide to go a different route. You want to discover the limitations inside the game. It's like, what happens if I go all the way to the border of this level? Is there going to be a secret passage to another level? That's how I feel a lot of you look at life. You're pushing into this uncharted territory, spiritually speaking, and it scares people. And it's not about them being scared for you. It's them being scared for themselves. Because what if? What if you find something? What if you discover something? This is all about them needing to stay propped up and safe inside a reality that you are challenging by merely existing. I just heard you're asking too many questions and they don't like it. What do we have? The Sacral, please, Spirit? Queen of Wands. Fire energy at the sacral. Yeah, there's a bridging message here between the last collective I put out and this one. I mentioned the jealous matriarch in that reading, and I'm getting it again here now. So I'm not surprised, because when an individual is going through this process, the jealous matriarch is just a kind of archetype that is going to pop up in different areas of your life. Whether it's in your family or it's somebody else, there's always that person that is seemingly in charge of trying to keep you indoctrinated into the system that they have been chosen to uphold. It's like they're the custodians, which obviously suggests that there's other energies that are above them. Now, in that particular reading, I was speaking about deep generational curses that can run through the bloodlines, because these sorts of energies are rooted in something. They come from somewhere. And if you keep tracing this all the way back to their core, it's something that's very systematic. It's like digging out the root of what this is and discovering that there's a computer there connected to it. The computer is generating some sort of simulation. This can go so deep here, but to keep it pushing, I'll just leave that with all of you. What do we have at the solar plexus, please, Spirit? But yeah, wow, I was just getting ready to say, this world card stacked with this Queen of Wands is telling us that as you're closing out this cycle, it's like this Queen of Wands comes along and is like, what do you think you're doing? Where do you think you're going? I see you discovered the computer there. You see now that the simulation is being generated through this system. But now that you know the truth, I'm not going to be able to let you leave here. You know too much. Now, this is just a humorous way of depicting what it is you actually discover during this review process. The review process, again, is you having that sit down, so to speak, with the divine and spirit, and they're showing you things from this higher vantage point, right? Like I mentioned, living inside that bubble in what looks to be the center of hell. And then this Seven of Swords, right underneath that Four of Cups, it gives halt. I cannot allow you to go any further. You've reached the edge of this simulation. You're now navigating territory that is way off limits. You're not supposed to be back here. You're not supposed to see all this. You're not supposed to see all this machinery here that is generating this particular simulation. Who do you think you are? This Seven of Swords underneath this Four of Cups is you seeing the betrayal in your life, whatever that means for you, and then seeing how the environment reacts to you seeing the truth. You're breaking free regardless. It's all over this energy. You've seen too much. You can't go back now. But make no mistake, they will stop at nothing to try and stop you from moving any further and or trying to pull you back in and put you back to sleep. It's like when we see these movies and an individual wakes up to the reality of how things really are and they unplug themselves from some sort of pod and they get up and they look on either side of them and there's all these other pods and there's people hooked in and all these pods are generating this sort of simulation. And there you are unplugging yourself, ripping out these wires, and you're running out of this dome that's in the middle of a desert underneath the ground, and you crawl out of some air ventilation system. This is what I'm getting here, but this is obviously all just analogies for what it feels like when you go through this process. And there's a reason why those movies are made, because that's what this feels like. And I say this in full confidence as somebody who has gone through this and is living through this. You don't get to the end of this. It's just a way of living. It's how it is from here on out. Every day you're living is another day that they are trying to hook you back in. And it's everywhere. It's everything you consume. It's everything you watch. It's everywhere you go. It's everyone you talk to. As I mentioned, it's an undercurrent. It just exists in all spaces. But you, being this modern day hermit, are up to the challenge. That's why, again, you were chosen for this particular mission. And then right on the bottom of the deck, 7 of Cups. A leopard cannot change their spots. This is speaking about all these people. They can't see it. This is all they know. They're not willing to sacrifice all of these things that keep them comfortable and happy inside. I just heard, inside this memory of their life. Okay, let's keep pushing forward. I'm going to leave that right there. What do we have at the heart, please, Spirit? Too many cards. What do we have at the heart, please? I just need one. Thank you. Okay, so that is Strength card, read in its negative polarity, and it says right there, extreme opposites. I mean, I feel that that goes without saying, but both of these cards, both Leo energy, but Leo in its shadow. So this is an energy of self-doubt. It's an energy that wants you to lack the discipline to keep pushing forward. It's an energy that wants you weak. It's an energy that doesn't want you challenging, pushing back, or trying to discover the edges of your reality. And it's an energy that you have uncovered as you have been discovering the edges of your reality. Now, this is really just speaking about you challenging things inside your reality, and then there being some sort of a reaction to this. Again, it's an energy that's like, what do you think you're doing? You're like, what? Where did you come from? Who are you? Don't worry about that. What are you doing over here? It gives Agent Smiths inside the Matrix. And then we have the 6 of Cups, Scorpio energy. Motivation. Now, this 6 of Cups here is an energy that wants you living in the past. It wants you to remain in a space where you can be controlled. And this is when people from your past try to come back. Hey, you don't need to do that. Why don't you just come back here? Come back home. Come back over here. We all miss you. And why are you trying to rock the boat? What is all this nonsense you're talking? Doesn't matter what's back there behind the curtain. Who cares if all of this is just fake? Just come be happy. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. And as I'm looking at this 6 of Cups, it's like they're playing a little flute or a little piccolo. Go back to sleep. Don't look behind the curtain. You'll forget everything that's happened. What do we have at the throat, please, Spirit? Empress, Libra, Taurus, Venusian energy at the throat. Okay. Now, what I'm seeing here, I feel for this reading, is a long time coming, because there has been no gratification at any point in this reading other than the truth. And though the truth is obviously all we can ask for, we do live in a tactile world, and we do need to survive inside this tactile world, regardless of knowing the truth. This Empress card is telling me that you have a lot on the other side of this waiting for you. The Empress card is the most abundant card in the tarot. So you've been put through this process for a specific reason. And it goes back to what I said about engaging with the world to help or learn in some capacity. So it's like you have to go through all of this as a form of boot camp to be positioned in this new life cycle where the universe is going to be using you in some capacity to help others through this process. Now, again, that's very general, okay? So just place it as it fits and makes sense for you, okay? The Hermit stacked with the Empress, this is an energy of planting your wisdom in fertile soil. In other words, this is another way of saying that you are going to be positioned to share your insights with receptive-minded people. What do we have? The third eye, please, Spirit? High Priestess, perfect. Pisces energy at the third eye. And it says right there, success. So the High Priestess at the third eye is home. It's home at this third eye position. And the High Priestess is the card of intuition, and it's the card of divine guidance. So right underneath the Seven of Wands, this is you accepting the mission and breaking through to the other side. You actually make it. And given the fact that it's underneath the Seven of Wands, it's telling me that you had to fight a war to get here. And this is also telling us that you've gotten to a point in your life now where you trust yourself. When you trust yourself, this means you're trusting your inner compass, you're trusting your intuition, your inner guidance, you're trusting that you're being guided by Source. To trust yourself is to have faith that there is a higher force that is guiding you through this process. It's all connected. And the Seven of Wands is also telling us that whoever is trying to get you to give up, so to speak, is trying to challenge your own inner knowing. It's like you knowing the truth about something and then an individual gaslighting you into thinking that the truth that you know to be true is wrong. And a lot of you have been through situations like that. That's all a part of what keeps people indoctrinated into these cycles. They want to make you feel like you're going crazy. They're going to gaslight you into believing that the way you perceive your reality is wrong. Okay, let's close out the reading. What do we have at the crown, please, Spirit? Eight of Cups. Pisces energy at the crown to close out the reading. Perfect. It says right there, transformation. Now, the Eight of Cups is an energy of moving on. It's an energy of withdrawing. It's also an energy that tells us that you're not going back to something. You've seen too much now. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter what they do. You're done. You're over it. You're moving forward. You may have gone back a few times before because you didn't know what you know now, but those days are long gone. You've already accepted your mission, and with that, you take the hardest yet easiest step you have ever taken in your entire life toward this new beginning. Your review process has now come to an end. All right, this is what I have for all of you. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Hit that hype button for me so we can get this video into the algorithm and get it out to some other people who may need to hear this message. Information for personal readings can be found in the description down below. If you would like to join the membership side of my channel where I upload additional videos each week, you can also find the links pinned in the comments or in the description below this video. I'm still running a sale at PLUTOBEANstudio.com. You can find a whole bunch of the items in the sidebar if that's something that you are interested in. I would also like to extend my gratitude to all of you who donate to my channel. But in closing, I would like to know how this reading resonated with you, so drop me a heart and or a comment, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Take care.